What's going on, video warriors? I hope you're doing well today. We've got a very special guest, Mr. Derik Savage, #1 OG video warrior, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, still here years later. And we want to talk to you today about the power of proposals. We're going to cover a lot in this conversation. We're going to talk about when to use them, like understanding the sales psychology of them. Derik's got some samples from real client proposals that he's used. He's changed some of the names on it, so they may be like kind of weird looking, but it's like there's an actual client there. So for privacy for them, he's kind of altered some things. And we've got a bunch of questions from our Facebook community. So Derik, how about we start this first with, let's talk a little bit about setting the stage for proposals and how did you sort of come into success with them? Because I feel like it's a very fine dance, and you're one of the few people who I know who pulled it off in the video warrior community, who understands the psychology behind them and how and when to use them. So do you want to maybe talk to the viewer a little bit right now about your thoughts and your philosophy on proposals?
Yeah, it totally is. And the important thing, first off, the way I got into proposals, I had never really used proposals until I was introduced to the Better Proposals platform through a conversation that you had with Adam from Better Proposals in the How to Sell group. When it comes to using proposals, I messed up quite a few times before I started to get it right. One of the things that's super important that I feel like we'll probably touch on in this conversation is making sure that the frame is right for using a proposal and that the situation is right for using a proposal. Yeah. So one thing that I was doing wrong in the beginning, and one thing that I think a lot of people will do wrong with proposals if they're not cognizant of it and framing it correctly, is that a lot of times if somebody doesn't want to have a sales conversation, if they're a prospect and they don't want to commit to you, one thing they'll say is, well, that sounds great. Why don't you go ahead and send me a proposal?
Make a proposal, bro.
Yeah. And then, 10 hours of work later, working on this proposal for this client, you send it to them, and then either you never get a response or, it doesn't end up happening. So I have a very specific method that I use on getting the proposals signed, getting them approved and in front of the right people. And also making sure that I'm saving myself time on not creating proposals for
the wrong fit
prospects that just aren't interested.
Yeah.
Speaking really challenging them before even going into it.
Speaking of the frame, I got to ask, what's the story with the green screen background, dude? Because I know there's some like OCD videographer who's watching this who's just like twitching every time it sort of shifts.
I know, right?
You want to fill the folks in really quick so they can at least not ride ass about that in the comments.
Right. I'm working from home right now. I'm quarantined and my wife is sharing the basement office with me. So
and now she doesn't exist because you've got a fancy studio background.
Right, exactly. So now I'm playing the part. But no, I've got like empty boxes and shelves and just a bunch of stuff thrown around back here. So
Gotcha. So it's all a show, folks, in case you're wondering. In case you wonder why Derik's like head disappears every now and then. No.
Right.
So let's talk about some of these questions. Like literally came from our Facebook community, and so I guess like really first and foremost, what would you say to answer when are proposals appropriate? Because like we said a bit earlier, there's a lot of people who just think that like if someone asks and they put all this work and throw it out, then it could be bad. And I know for myself, I remember someone asking me to write a proposal and I did the similar thing, spent a couple hours on it, but it was their kind of like a passive way of saying like I didn't want to commit to it, but rather than say it to your face, they're just going to like give you radio silence later, and then you find out weeks later that was all just like BS. So where would you say proposals are appropriate, and where can people who are part of the video warrior community find success when it comes to actually using proposals the right way?
Yeah. So one of the things, and just like we discussed, it's a lot of times a client doesn't want to tell you no. Like they may actually like you as a person. They don't want to disappoint you. They see that you're trying to get the sale. And in their mind, in the back of their mind, they're like, there's no way I'm going to do this, but they don't have the courage to tell you no to your face. Mm-hmm. So the thing that I do is make sure that they are 100% on board and challenge them on that, and go over pricing. Like that's one thing that I never, ever, ever let pricing be a surprise in the proposal.
Yeah.
The person that I'm speaking with, either on the phone or in person or via a Zoom call or what have you, my contact with that company I make sure that one, if they're not the final decision maker, they're the one that decision maker relies on to make a judgment call on these sorts of things. And they have a pretty good idea, even if they're not the ones writing the check, that they have a pretty good idea that the budget that I'm telling them is going to be approved, that it's within the realm of what they're, able to do, and works in alignment with what their goals are. And once that person has 100% buy-in, and I have no doubt in my mind that they have 100% buy-in, and so it's basically a sale at that point. It's a handshake deal. And then the proposal gets made in order for them to share it with other people.
Can I repeat back to you what I'm hearing, and hopefully you can clarify on this?
Absolutely.
So essentially what you're saying is, like, not every client that you're going to sales meeting with, you're using a proposal, correct?
That's right.
So what's been the context for when you've used the proposal, and how have you differentiated between someone who's just trying to give you a cop out and maybe they just want to be nice to your face instead of hurt your feelings?
Okay, so
what's the context of who gets a proposal in your world?
That's a good question. So if I'm speaking with the sole decision maker, if I have all decision makers present, if there's no other person that needs to be consulted for anything, there's no proposal. There's no need for a proposal, right? If that person can't tell me right then and there, like, hey, this is something that I approve, or this is something that I don't approve, I'm not going to let them just back out and say, well, why don't you send me a proposal and I'll think about it or whatever. Like, that's not the way to use a proposal.
The people who are the ones who get them are, I just want to clarify, because we can come into some of the more the psychology of that as well, and the selling angle, and knowing how to navigate that conversation to find out. But what are some examples of places where it's been like a no-brainer for you to make a proposal?
Sure. So if I am working with a larger corporation, right, and let's say I'm speaking to a marketing director, and that marketing director is the person that's like, more or less in charge of the budget, and more or less in charge of the creative direction of what they want to do. And, they talk to me and I talk to them. We go over the plan and what we're going to create for them, and the budget, and they agree with the budget, and they say, this sounds great. I need to go over this with some other people that are outside of this conversation. Maybe it's, my CFO, maybe it's the CEO, maybe it's some other people, that I report to in some way.
So it's almost like people that you need to make look good in front of their boss if they're coming with this idea, so that it's a no-brainer to move forward with it.
Exactly. And so then my goal becomes, what can I do to make them look like the hero when they present this to their boss?
I like that.
And that's cool. really at the end of the day, that's the way I approach proposals. Proposals.
And if someone's watching this right now and you're thinking like, oh, what do they look like and all these things, like, we're going to go through actual samples of proposals, real proposals. Can you quickly tease, like, what was the price points on these two proposals that you're going to show us that you closed the deals on?
Right. So the two that I've got, one of them is a $5,300 proposal. Do you want me to go into the deliverables on
We'll
these?
get to it after.
Okay, yeah.
Just want to give a little foreshadowing to stick around, because we're going to talk a little sales psychology. We're going to understand what makes good proposals before we actually get into the samples, because I know people are always like, well, what do they look like? So we're going to show you. We got you covered, bro.
Absolutely. $5,300 on one, and the other one is $20,000.
Okay. So a $5,300 project, kind of like that mid-price four-figure, and a $20,000 project as well. So we're going to go through actual samples of those. Coming back to some of the questions here then as well. So when would you, I think you kind of already covered it, but I'm just asking questions that were literally from the group. When would you say no to a request for a proposal, and how would you navigate that conversation?
Right. And I feel like we kind of touched on that. Whenever we already have all the decision makers in the room, I would say no to a proposal. I would ask, well, why do we need a proposal at this point?
Yep.
So at that point, you really have to challenge why that person would need a proposal. And if there's anything, because you're right there. They're the
you can answer it right away.
You can answer whatever. If they need to see something from you, you've got, your laptop or your phone or whatever, you can show them anything that they need to see. You can answer any question they may have. So I would challenge them with, well, what questions haven't we gone over? What do you need to know in order to be able to make a decision on this?
Yeah. So let's not spend too much time on that concept, because I think that's kind of really clear. And I do want to make this as a good resource for folks who need to use a proposal, or in a place where it's like, like it makes sense. I'm dealing with a corporation, I'm dealing with a marketing director, I'm dealing with someone who may be in a different state than me. And, there's so many layers to it. One more thing that comes to mind is like people who get emails for RFPs or requests for bids or proposals. It's a little bit of a different sales conversation too than what our experience has been. Is that fair? Like, because usually we're the point of contact. Like, what happens if someone reaches out and is like, hey, can you send me a proposal for this, without even getting in a sales meeting with you?
Yeah, so those are tricky, and I've only had that happen to me once, where it was an obvious bidding process. I'm never the cheapest one to go with, so there's no advantage for me bidding against other companies for a job. It's just something that I don't pursue, and with that, I didn't pursue it either. So I'm probably not the best person to ask that question to.
Yeah. So, and I think that's just to clarify, like, there's so many different contexts when people come into the video warrior community, because there's some people who, like, for example, who work in higher end commercial videography, high end commercials on BMW, like name brands, where you have to bid to get the job. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different than when you're dealing direct to business owners, or, you're positioning your company where people are coming to you and finding you. It's a little different. So obviously there's a time and a place in a world for that. We're not shitting on that or saying that doesn't exist or work or that job bidding's terrible. We understand there's people who close deals doing it. It's just not the thread of this story that we're talking about today. Derik, some more general questions which have come up, which I think we've kind of already answered. Should you ever prepare a proposal to close a sale?
No. The sales should be a handshake agreement with your contact before the proposal gets created. That's the way I use them. That's the way I've had success with them.
Yeah.
At no time would and where I messed up early on with these is I did kind of get bamboozled into like, oh, I don't want to have a sales conversation, or I don't want to tell you no because you're a nice guy, and I feel like if I do tell you no, that you might turn up the pressure on me or something. Right?
So the difference
is to just ask you to send me a proposal and then ignore it.
Yeah, the difference essentially of what you're telling me is that, like, the right way to look at proposals and to use proposals is not as the deal closer, but it's an asset to assist with the things that you're already setting up to make a home run. Is that a fair comment?
Absolutely.
Like, it's a tool in the belt, but it's not the only tool that's used to close the deal. Like, there's interaction, there's learning sales conversations, and building the relationship that really freaking matter. It's not like you just sit at home and make proposals in your underwear and send them off and money falls out of the sky for you, right?
Right. All of the work is really done before the proposal even gets written.
Yeah.
I do a ton of work ahead of any kind of proposal, making sure that I've got a good relationship built with my point of contact with that company, and making sure that they're on board with what we're doing. I want to understand, and before writing a proposal, a key aspect of writing the proposal is having that discovery conversation with your point of contact, with your prospect at that company, understanding what they're trying to do, understanding as much as you can who their audience is, and all of these things, because all of that is what's going to inform what's in that proposal. So having that conversation, you can take all that, put it into words that they can then use to convince their boss or whoever the final decision maker is that this is a great idea.
I want to act as somebody who's like new to the community, may not understand the language, like discovery call and things like that. Cause I really want to, like, imagine someone's just coming into our world and, like, they've never heard of these things. So essentially the process is someone sorry, I got to translate to American for you. They fill out your discovery form, and then you get on the call with, say it's a sales man, like the person who oversees the marketing department. Like, what's that process look like? Cause a lot of people think like, oh, well, I'll skip the discovery form. I'll skip these discovery process things just to, like, send out the paperwork without even getting on the phone with somebody, without diagnosing what do they actually need. Is this going to be valid? Like, it's a really dangerous approach, right?
Yeah. And the whole idea is you want to find out, one, if they've got a problem that you can solve, and two, before suggesting any kind of solution for that problem, you want to understand what it is, and if it's even worth your time. I've had plenty of discovery conversations, and when I say discovery, you're trying to find out as much as you can. You're a doctor and they're the patient, and you're trying to diagnose what their disease is in order to give them the right medication or treatment or whatever.
The right video.
The right video, exactly. So if you find out, like, hey man, I'm a general practitioner and you need a specialist, or or whatever, maybe I'm going too far with that analogy, but if you find out, hey, your problem is something where it's like maybe you don't have the money to invest in a video, or maybe you're too early in your business that you'd be able to have much success with this right now, because
Yeah.
there are plenty of startups that they come to me and it's like, look, man, let's come back to me in a year, when you got some revenue coming in and you got things going, because right now all you have is an idea for a business.
Yeah.
So sometimes that happens. So you find all these things out. The discovery conversation, just like the discovery form, is meant to qualify your prospects and find out if they're a good match for you.
Yeah. Follow the process. And if you use the proposal, and if you're in a position by the end of this conversation where you realize, oh, this would be a really powerful asset to use and the right way to use it, then cool. Like, just, it's another part of the process. There's a lot of conversations where you may not need them. And that's why I wanted to have Derik come here as well, because he's been having a ton of success with this. And when we were in Hawaii for the Warrior 2020 event pre-COVID, it was really cool seeing a little over your shoulder while you had a group of people and you were showing like proposals and stuff. So maybe instead of asking more questions around proposals, I'm going to move the questions I have on my notepad below. Let's get into some actual samples. Like, can you want to take the lead here and do the screen share thing, and then we'll go through it, and then if questions come up, I will ask them or I'll write them down. Excuse me, I'll grab a pen.
Absolutely, man.
And then we'll come back to some of the other questions at the end. But I think the easiest thing is just to show you. Like, when you see it, it might be like, oh, cool, this is really smart. This makes sense. And yeah, we'll go from there. Cool.
Yeah. Before we start here, I'm gonna preface this by saying that the names of these companies have been changed to protect the identity of my clients and some of their proprietary stuff, how much they're paying for jobs, etc.
There's going to be one person who's like, it's all a scam. I can't believe that you're lying. You don't even make any videos. Look at you with your green screen background.
I know, right?
Just sipping on the Haterade in the background, just hating live.
Yeah. Well, there's always one.
If that's you, get stuffed. Look, even me censoring myself. Something's happened with me in this quarantine thing.
Right.
Screen share is all you need.
So yeah, let me go ahead and get this going. Let's see here. Now this first one.
It's kind of funny because like I can hear your lady in the background, and if you didn't say what it was, that was like her working, it might be like, oh, Derik has a secretary who's answering all these calls.
No,
he's so busy.
No, she's a secretary. That's it. She's handling phone calls.
Yeah. So this is what a client will see, and it's from using Better Proposals. And if you want to check out Better Proposals, it's software run by Adam. He's a really cool dude. I'll put a link down below in this video. Disclaimer: it is an affiliate link, so if you do sign up, Video Warrior does see a percentage of that sale come in. But just got to put that out there. If you're wondering, like, how do I make it look amazing? Well, they've got it all plug and play. It's really simple to do it. Derik, the stage is yours, my friend.
All right, cool. So one of the things that I want to start off by mentioning is Better Proposals has a lot built in that you can do as far as customizing the look of your proposals, and I take full advantage of that. Keeping in mind that, when I'm sending one of these, I'm sending these as a tool for my contact to give a presentation to their boss with, right? So if I'm writing a proposal for them, I'm writing it as like, hey, I'm their, I'm in their corner and I'm helping to create something that identifies their brand and shows their brand and how this is going to work for it. So with that in mind, one of the first things I do is they have this feature where it will zoom in on a picture, which looks pretty cool. And
oh wow, cool! I can see it now. It's happening.
Yeah, so it's subtle, but it's cool. So anyway, proposal for Moonshot Event Productions at the Trucking Industry Trade Show. So this is a company that makes trade show booths.
Yeah.
And this is a trade show booth that they were hiring us to do a sizzle reel for their client at this event. And it would be featuring their booth. So they were
names have changed, but the premise is this was an actual deal that you closed for a sizzle video project.
Right. Their client is a company you would have heard of, by the way.
Is his name Robert Paulson?
Yeah, in depth.
That's a little Fight Club reference in there.
Yeah, you like that?
I do.
All right, so here we go.
Cool.
So
is this him or is this you or who's this?
This is something I found online.
Okay.
So names have changed.
Okay.
That's actually the face of one of the people in the company. So if you dig hard enough, you can probably find these guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, I try to brand these. So I created this in Photoshop. you know, you can insert your own images in here and everything. So I spend most of my time with proposals writing this first introduction page and making sure that it's representing their brand, and then creating whatever imagery or stealing imagery from their website or whatever.
So you almost have like a template that you've built upon over time, right? Is what you're saying then? So now it's just like almost custom tailoring little sprinkles of their flavor, or in this case, it would be a photo of the CEO or the company or something like that.
Right. So most of the stuff after the introduction page is straight up template. The introduction page is the only thing that I really take my time and write out, and it's what Nick had described as a love letter to the company.
Yep.
Right. Basically showing that you understand what their problem is, you understand what their business is, and that this is what you're proposing in order to solve the problem that they have.
Cool.
So I usually like to start off with a quote. You know, these guys are a creative agency, right? They make trade show booths for high-end clients at these international trade shows, and they make them awesome. They like create experiences for people.
Yeah.
And you know, this quote from Anton Chekhov ties into their brand, and it also ties into the creativity of what they're doing. So don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass.
Yeah, I think as well, to keep things moving and grooving, because I think there's so much depth that could go into like proposals and understanding it. And I don't know if I think you're cool with this, because we kind of talked about it before, but if there's interest in something like this, maybe we could look at putting together a little workshop class with Derik, and we could go through like the actual step-by-step of building these proposals or having your own templates created. But I think what's really important is to like focus on some of the high level, really just understanding the psychology of a viewer who's going through this. If that's something you would like, if that's something that would be helpful, leave a comment down below, let us know as well. And if there's enough people interested, then I'm sure Derik might be up for it too. What do you think, Derik?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So yeah, just a overview on this part. The introduction is basically telling them what they told me about their brand, who they are, what they do. Sometimes I copy paste some of this stuff off of their website, you know, saying this is who we are and this is what we specialize in, and this is who, you know, this is the understanding of their brand. So spend some time understanding their brand and be able to regurgitate that back to them.
Yeah.
And then all of this is branded. All of this is like, okay, this looks like our brand. And then I talk about, you know, the problem they have and then what we're going to do to solve that problem.
Because you discovered this when you were on the discovery call with the person who's reaching out to you.
Right, exactly. So we've already been over this. None of this is a surprise, right? Yeah. So all of this is stuff that we discussed on the discovery call. I've taken my notes. This is just me putting it into a presentation form.
Okay.
So keep reading to find out more. So what we're doing with this client is we're creating a sizzle reel video, and then we're also taking event photos that we're going to share with them that they can put on social media.
And it was a $5,800 project. Was that correct?
5,300.
53. Okay.
Right.
It was 58 Canadian, is it, or no? 5 million Canadian?
Yeah, I don't deal with Canadian, man.
Oh. Shots fired.
I only work with real dollars.
Oh.
I'm just playing, man.
It's all good, man.
All right, pre-production. You know, stock image. I think this image actually comes in better proposals, but you know, whatever stock image.
I think that's the other thing that's really important to say. Like, a lot of this may look kind of crazy and like, oh my God, you got to do all this work. Like, the beauty of better proposals is they have like on the left, that navigation menu, like they're pretty much there and you can click and customize, and there's a lot of like templated stuff. So it's not like you have to be this amazing coding expert or anything, right?
Right. So most of it, I mean, it's not any more complicated than, you know, putting it in a Word document. It's the same idea.
Yeah, they've really taken a lot of the grunt work or the heavy lifting out of building proposals.
Yeah, and it looks flashy and nice. It's very visual.
Yeah.
Which is important for what we do. So then, you know, talking about planning and pre-production, I always make pre-production a huge part of the process. I actually have a pre-production document that I make the client sign off on. So, you know, that's not this, but then one of the next steps is having a pre-production meeting after this is done, and getting everything written out and getting everything signed off on and saying, this is exactly what we're going to make.
Yeah. So you're not doing endless revisions and running around like chickens.
Exactly. That's part of that whole process.
You're acting like a professional. Look at that.
Exactly. So, but that puts a client at ease too. It's like, oh, they're going to do pre-production. That's, you know, that's something we didn't even think about. So that's great. You know, from their perspective, they feel like they're being taken care of. So this discusses everything that's going to be in the pre-production meeting and the planning aspect. Yep. And then the shoot. This is an actual photo of a C200 we rented for a shoot.
Can we go back for a second before I have a seizure from the gear mentioned just now? Go back to that pre-production. So can you just sort of give me the summary of is this kind of like copy paste thing that you've built for all of your pre-production, or is this something that's custom tailored to this client? Because it looks like, I'm just going through it now. This doesn't look specific to said client.
Right.
But it's more about educating.
Occasionally I'll change this depending on the kind of project we're doing. So like if there doesn't need to be a call to action, you know, maybe I'll take that out of the bullet point list here. If you know, if there's something that needs to change, I'll change it. Otherwise, this is pretty much boilerplate.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sweet.
Yeah.
See, ease, peace of mind, friends. You don't need to slave away at this stuff.
And I like to add quotes in because I feel like it takes people out of the mindset of, you know, hey, this is a sales presentation, but it's like, it's more like, hey, this is what we're about. This is the, it brings a little bit more of the why back into it, which I feel is important. You know, if I could tell a story in words, I wouldn't have to lug this camera around. So, and then every once in a while, I like to show a picture. Here's me at an event with a camera shooting, you know, another company. So,
yeah. So you can influence, like put a bit of your own positioning of you visually so that people see like, oh, I could be a professional if I had someone like Derik working with me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can even see like on the screen what we're looking at.
Yeah.
I was able to carefully frame out the trash cans.
You go, man.
So, but yeah, that just talks about the shoot. It's like, we're going to show up, we're going to have all the right stuff.
You're essentially hand-holding a client through like the 30,000-foot view of what does a video production project look like in a way that like removes all the fear and overwhelm, where it's just like planning, pre-production, production, post-production, more or less. That's what you're through.
Right, because you got to understand too that, you know, this might be the first video project they've ever been a part of, right? Not everyone does video projects, you know, as part of their regular business. And to be able to show them like, hey, here's what to expect. Here's the process. Here's how we do it. And it takes away a lot of the fear and a lot of the mystery that, you know, they would be afraid of, and shows them exactly what you're going to do. And it also helps to justify the price, to show that like, hey, there's a lot that goes into this. Yeah.
Like this fancy edit that you have here, which might be overwhelming to some clients. You're like, oh, it's only a few shots and, you know, some basic stuff going on. But to other people, it looks like a giant puzzle or something. How do you, where's the fine line between not overwhelming the client with too much like of this sort of detail? How do you like let's walk through a bit of that too, so we don't just like lose people or glaze them over, but keep it about the main thing.
Yeah. So what I do is I create this, and then I guess I should have mentioned this early on. I don't just send them the proposal. I don't say, hey, this was a great call. I'll get that proposal out to you on Tuesday and expect it then, and then I email it to them. I say, when I get done with my sales conversation, when we agree that there's going to be a proposal created, great, I'll have that done on Tuesday. What's a good time for us to get on a Zoom call and go over it together?
Oh, so you almost go through it together in real time so that you can sort of gauge what's going on, handle any questions, so it's not left with you out of the conversation anymore.
Exactly how it's done.
That's the way to do it, man. That really is. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the edit part.
Yeah, and this is, you know, just a brief paragraph. Like, okay, after we shoot it, then we edit it. And, you know, and it briefly touches on the assembly and revision process. I give them a round of assembly and then a round of one round of revisions.
So case study, what's the point of this one, dude?
Yeah, this is to show the successes that we've had in the past. Like, hey, we've worked with another company that has had, you know, a complex problem in their company, and we use video to solve it. And here's, you know, this one's a little long-winded.
This is literally the template in Better Proposals, like where you state problem, solution, and like, this isn't like something that you had to come up with. I mean, you had to write obviously the text, but like the headlines and everything were already in place, and you just sort of tinkered with it.
Yeah. So that's what that is. Most of the time, people don't even read this; they're just happy it's there.
Yeah. Okay? So,
but you can embed a video too. That's a cool
let's not like gloss over that super quick. Then what should someone who's thinking about making a proposal with Better Proposals and having a case study, like, what is the objective of this page, whether a client reads it or not? Because if it's here, it's got to be there for a reason, right?
Right. This is to prove to them that what you do works. This is to prove to them that, like, look, we're not just making a video to make a video. We're solving a problem here, and here's what somebody else has to say. And this is not just the video that we made, but this is the client giving a testimonial about how great it was to work with us.
And you've got all this footage from the projects on top of your testimonial.
Yeah, we put his dog in a box too. It was kind of funny.
Nice. We can move on. Oh no, I hope he's out of there and I got some breathing holes, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's continue on because I also know that we're probably throwing a lot at you, and you've also got a sample of a 5-figure project that you closed for $20,000 that I'd love to see the difference, I guess, if there is any, or if it's all sort of similar.
Yeah. So as we're going through this, right? Let's say you're the client. I give them this, and then I say, hey, feel free to read through this while you have me here, and I'll be here to answer any questions. And they're reading through it, and I'm looking at it, as well. And usually they don't have any questions until they get to the your investment page here.
Yeah.
And and then it's like, okay, this is the part where it gets into a little bit of like, these are all the fine points. We want to make sure everything is exactly right on this part. So we've already gone through this in the discovery/sales conversation that we had before. And so everything is as expected. So there's no surprises here. The only thing that I added to this was some optional add-ons, which you can also do through Better Proposals. So $5,300, excuse me, was the amount for the sizzle reel.
Yep.
And then I included the photography, which is basically a collection of stills from the event. On
the marketing, sorry to interrupt. I know people hate when I interrupt, but so this 5,300, you'd already told the marketing director before they took it. So it's not a shock. It's not hidden on the bottom in a tiny font. Like they already know the price going into this conversation.
That's right. And the purpose of this is to be able to say, look, this is what we agreed to with this company CEO, and this is what we need you to sign off on.
Okay.
That's all this is. So this is just a formality at this point. Everybody's already on board. What I'm offering them as well is additional content that they can add on if they want to.
Okay.
One thing that I had the idea of doing is a brand engagement video, which is basically, taking the sizzle reel one step further. The sizzle reel that they had wanted didn't have any audio recorded. Like It was just B-roll,
like video and B-roll.
Yeah, and that's all they wanted. And I was like, well, what if we also, interviewed some people and had them tell their story and made another piece of content out of that?
You could easily put video business card in there too if you wanted, or anything really.
Yeah. And there's even, as you're building these, there's a drop down of things. There's a drop down of things that you can save.
Cool. So if they wanted it and they clicked on that plus next to brand engagement, it just retallies the total then.
And there you go.
Cool. That's neat.
And then you can add, testimonial videos on top of that from customers. So the brand engagement was supposed to be interviews with the company, their client, right? That was going to be at this trade show.
Yeah.
And then the testimonial videos are going to be their customers talking about how great it was working with them. So,
and these are custom tailored because you understand where this is going to be used then, right? It's not like you just have like 50 different things and you've got a giant, long, complicated additional add-on menu. Like you want to make sure you're still getting the deal and not losing them, right?
Exactly. Not every customer gets the add-ons. This is just for whenever it's like, okay, well, there's this other thing that we might be able to create out of this that, we'll throw that in as optional.
Cool.
So that's that. Payment terms, this is important. I always, require 50% upfront in order to book it. And then the remaining 50% is required prior to delivery of the finished videos. So upon client approval, they stay our property until the final payment's made, and we transfer them. And then I also, because sometimes clients drag their feet on stuff, as far as getting back to you. So I've also added, if the client approval is not received by such and such date, final payment will be due at that time, and the most recent version of the video will be considered.
Wow. Okay.
So this is just stuff to kind of make sure that the terms are, make sense, and that there's no, this has come from, time and time again running into different issues with clients.
And obviously speak with a lawyer before you put any absolute terms. And if you're going to, like, if someone's challenging it, like, it's not like you just grab some template off the internet, right? Which kind of goes to how I was going to ask, because you've incorporated your terms and service, right? Or something?
Yeah. So that's the next part. So the signature page is the last thing that I put.
Okay.
Now in Better Proposals, they have a thing where there's a signature page, and then they have another page after that with terms and conditions that's kind of like where you would put your contract. I don't do it that way. I was actually, we're not giving legal advice here, but I was advised not to, include something after a signature as far as the terms and conditions, but to put it before a signature.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I've done though, and what I've been advised to do is put a link to, and this doesn't have the link, but my actual proposal does.
Yeah.
Put a link to my actual terms and conditions that they have to agree to as part of this, and then they sign it. So when they sign it, they're agreeing to my master services terms and conditions, and then this proposal would constitute a statement of work as defined in those terms and conditions.
How important, can I just ask this as well? Because I know you said we're not giving legal advice, and I know it can get really complicated with all these things. How important is it, like, that relationship with your lawyer and to have this stuff in place? Like, because anyone could just like, I'm going to go to Derik's site and steal his shit. Well, first and foremost, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't live in the same state as he does.
Right. I mean, every business is different. So yeah, every state's different. Every
Country.
situation is different. Every country is different. Do not just take a contract off the internet, change the name of it to your company, and expect it to hold any water.
Yeah.
I highly recommend getting with an attorney that is well versed in dealing with businesses that work in intellectual property.
Yep.
And this kind of service-based business.
Yeah, and it's just it's something that can come from your operating expense budget. As you grow your sales and as you start bringing in capital, it's worth investing in. I think it was like, I don't remember how much money it was. Must have been less than $2,000 to get my first contract, or 1,500 Canadian to get like a basic video production services agreement.
I would say anywhere between 1,500 to $4,000, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It is totally 100% worth it.
Yeah.
This is what we base all of our client relationships.
Back to proposals. They signed this, because I do want to see the 20,000. I know we might be getting a little long here in the video. Hopefully this is still of value for you. If you're learning from this video, please leave a comment below. Let us know what stands out the most to you. As we wrap this one up, before we move into the 20K project, Derik, do you want anything you want to show here now with the rest of this?
So the last thing I do, I'm on the phone, or I'm on the Zoom call with them while they're going over this. So they sign it while we're still on the phone. The 50% deposit I also get while I'm on the phone with them.
Yeah.
So I use QuickBooks. You can use whatever you want, obviously, but as soon as I get the signature from this, I'm sending them a QuickBooks invoice that they can pay online while they're still on the line.
Yeah. So you collect your deposit and not have to wait for it later.
Exactly. Cool. So I already have that all ready to go. So I know, based on our prior conversation, like, we're going to have this meeting on Tuesday. We're going over the proposal. I've already got the QuickBooks invoice figured out for the 50% deposit. Nothing's going to change. The amount might change depending on the options that they've chosen, but I can type that in real quick.
Yeah.
Then at the end, I reassure them, my team and I are excited to be working with you on this project and are 100% committed to your success with video. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact me directly at fake phone number, Derik Savage.
Oh, that is a fake phone number. Then I don't have to blur it out.
It's a 555.
Yeah, I was going to say, how'd you get a 555, Mr. Hollywood?
Right.
So,
for purposes of this, it's a fake phone number.
So this is cool to see a $5,300 price point project. Can we talk a little bit about margins and things like that as we move into the $20,000 project? Because a lot of people think that, like, oh, you're not making any money on these things when you do it, or you might sell a $20,000 project but only make $1,000 because you got to pay for all these people. Like, what's your thoughts on your pricing? I know this isn't related to proposals, but I wanted to know because it was a question that came up in the Facebook group when we asked about proposals, and they wanted a bit of a breakdown. And maybe when we get to the 20K project, you can talk about that too.
Yeah, so this one required us to go to a different city. This was a trade show that was in a city that was about a 2.5-hour drive from where I am. Mm-hmm. And they wanted us to start super early in the morning on this trade show. And then they also wanted us to do a second day. So built into this, the reason this is the price that it is for a 60-second sizzle reel, which it's more than what most people would charge for a 60-second sizzle reel. That includes me and a camera operator going there, having, our hotel rooms. I included all that. That's not being added on to this.
Okay.
Right. And then a camera rental, better camera than what we have in-house. And
so you're not making money on this project, Derik, is what you're telling us?
Well, I want to make sure that the people that are listening to this understand that there's some expenses with this. This isn't all just going in my pocket.
Yeah.
I will say over 50% of that was profit. But it's not going to, I mean, there are operating expenses with a business. I
Yeah.
mean, you got to pay your people, you got to pay, you know, expenses, you got to pay for rentals, you got to pay for gas, you got to pay
Yeah.
for a rental car,
You got to
whatever.
pay for yourself because
You
most
got to
people
pay for
don't
yourself.
take care of themselves.
Yeah. Don't
Um,
ever forget to pay yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that you're aware of that, and don't try to cut costs. Like if a client says like, "Oh, well, I only have 15,000, but the proposal is like a $20,000 project," like you can't shortcut. Like if you've got it mapped out that people are getting paid, I'm assuming,
Mm-hmm.
like the price is the price.
Yeah.
You do it in multiple payments if you need to. Like,
Well, that's why you get a feel for that during the discovery call.
yeah,
You know, and that's why you don't negotiate during the proposal situation. Like
yeah,
you get a feel for their you know what they're willing to spend, and a lot of that has to do with what their business is. Like what do
yeah,
they make off of if they get a new client, what's that worth to them? All the stuff that is in the book.
yeah.
You know, so
So I want
finding out. No, go ahead.
Again, I want to know a little bit more of your train of thought, because to me that would still feel a little underpriced. Like $5,300 to go and do 2 days of shooting, where I'm seeing maybe $2,700 on it.
Mhm.
Where did you come up with the price? Is it like a relationship starter video with this client? Like what's the long play here? Because and I only ask this because I know how your brain works. Like you did, what was it, 90 grand in your first year of running your business, and you already blew past that in the first bit of 2020.
Yeah.
So like, you think strategically. So what's a little bit of the thought behind the strategy as well?
Sure. So one of the things with them, I try not to go too crazy on my first project with anyone.
Yeah.
And I only take on a client when I feel like it's going to be a long-lasting relationship. So this company, they do high-end trade show booths for high-end companies, right? So this company, even if I wasn't like completely banking on this one job, this is a relationship starter, not only with this company that has inroads into all these other companies and they don't already have a video crew that they like to work with.
Yeah.
You know, just getting that relationship established is huge. And then once that relationship's established, well, now, hey, guess what else we can do for you guys? You know, who's doing this kind of video?
Wait,
for
you can do repeat business with clients? They're not always a brand new client on a conveyor belt, Derik Savage? You're telling me you can actually have long-term relationships and repeat business with your clients?
That's it, man. You get that relationship established with the right people, man, and it can open all kinds of doors.
Let's move into the number 2, because we're going for quite a bit of time already. I don't even know where we are anymore in the timeline of this interview. Let's talk about the $20,000 proposal.
Sure.
The net on it was kind of interesting compared to the last one. It was a little more than 50%, I believe.
Yeah. So this one,
I'll let you pull up the proposal first. Maybe we'll talk about all the money stuff after, because they'll get to see it when they actually see the price point.
This is a unique situation, though. I will say that before we dive too deep into this.
Don't give people an excuse as to why, like, oh,
every situation is unique.
I hate when people like, oh, that's why he was able to do it, like, because it was unique or whatever. Like, fuck no, man.
Well, the thing
stop
is,
telling yourself stories, people, as to why you can't do this. Just go close some deals.
The thing is, you got to be able to find the angles in every situation.
Yeah.
You know? So this one, there was a client that we were going to work at an event, and these events all happened, you know, January, February, right prior to COVID-19 being a thing. Yeah. Right now, we're not doing any events, obviously, and we're doing other kind of things. But anyway, the company that we were with on this happened to be very good friends with a lot of other people in their industry, and they paid for us to go shoot a ton of content at these 2 events. One of them was in Dallas, one of them was in Phoenix. They paid, you know, our travel, or, you know, all of our meals, all that stuff.
Yep, they took care of you.
Yeah, they took care of us, and they paid us for the you know, what we were doing for them, the content capture and everything for them.
Okay.
And they're the ones that suggested, they're like, hey, there are these other companies that are going to be at this thing, that we're all part of the same kind of like group, like a referral group kind of thing on steroids. Yep. Right?
So this proposal was not for the company that paid for your trip or paid for your meals, is what you're saying. This was a proposal
right. That was
you picked up while you were on the road. You're like, screw it. Let's go get a couple more deals and make it all happen since we're traveling.
Right. We knew all these other companies were going to be there.
Cool.
So we offered these packages for capturing content at these trade shows for them.
Yeah, you're already there capturing it.
Yeah, exactly. We're already there. So what's it to add another company or another two companies, or hiring a local camera operator to help out when we're already there doing all this stuff?
Yeah.
Right? So
all that to say, you already had a deal locked down that was covering your travel, covering your expenses for you and your team, and then you picked up another $20,000 deal on top of that.
That's right.
Cool. Let's go through the proposal then.
Cool. So this is a law firm, right? And I'll go ahead and start reading the proposal.
So bright, man. I need more sunglasses. Everything's
yeah. So these guys, they are pretty large law firm that deals with commercial insurance claims, right? So like property damage, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they wanted was to show that they are connected to a lot of the people that can help prove this like commercial property loss. So things like engineers and things like, public adjusters and estimators and things like that. So same idea, I created this out of their current branding. These guys had some really well done photographs and branding on their website. And,
it's the exact same thing, proposal template, almost just changing the colors and the words and the photos.
Same idea, same thing. Introduction, talking about what their company is and what they're doing. Then talk about like, okay, what do we need to create in order to accomplish the goal that you guys have of being the only one that people want to go to for this kind of stuff? We need to let them know that you exist. We need to let them know who you're connected to. And then we need to, answer some of the questions that they might have about, commercial, insurance litigation. So
cool.
All these things. So what I proposed to them was that we cover them at both events, that we create 8 like testimonial videos of their clients talking about them, and then them talking to people that are vendor partners with them. And then we also, we do a wrap-up video for each one of those, giving like kind of an overview.
Yep.
And these are all super like short form, easy. It's just basically like talking head stuff. Like,
I've got to be the skeptic, dude, for a second. So you're telling me $20,000 for like 10 videos or something? Derik, how much did it cost you to have the fulfillment done on these projects by your team?
Right now, and I think I shared this on the how-to group, but I think I'm somewhere around $3,000 into it.
So for your editor and your shooters to do this.
Right.
So does it matter if you're doing 10 videos if you're making like 16, 17 grand on it?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it, man. I mean, I hired a local camera operator for his day rate to shoot this stuff while I'm asking the interview questions. So we spent, 15 minutes a piece on each interview. And, and then it's just a matter of having my editor chop them up.
Yeah.
And that's it. Make a pretty decent bumper and throw some music from Premium Beat on it, and you got yourself a video.
I think it's so powerful to know that, because like when you understand like what does a day of production cost me, like I know for me, like my shooter was about $800 a day. He'd bring gear. I know that my editor was $25 an hour. You know what I mean? So like if we have 2 days of shooting and it's $800 a day or $1,000 a day, okay, well that's $2,000 for my editor or shooter. I mean, say it's 100 hours. Okay, well 2,500 for the edit. As long as you know your numbers, like I don't care if I'm shooting like 10 video interviews, like as long as it's done, like who cares? Just get it done. Because like if you're stacking the value for your clients and you're thinking that rather than like trying to nickel and dime every single thing, like I try to think of like, how do I optimize and make the most of being on set on a day so the client comes out ahead? And not all of it has to be a ton of videos either, but I just want to set the stage really quick because I know there's someone who's just going to be like, you're not making any money, you're making 10 whatever videos. I'm like, fuck off, man. It's like, so understand net operating expense, like all this stuff, you're fine.
Yeah. So you're probably wondering why there's Star-Lord and Iron Man here on the pre-production page. I did some research on this company, and I knew that the person that was going to be making the decision was their COO. and not the partners in the firm and not the marketing director, but she was the one that was like, and I was told that she was kind of a ball buster, right? And that if anybody was going to give me problems, it was her.
Yeah.
So I went to her Facebook page to try to like stalk her a little bit and find out about her. And I found out that she had 2 dogs named Star-Lord and Gamora.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, I'm going to throw a Star-Lord reference in here just for her, and hope that warms her up.
Well, you got the deal, so.
Yeah, and the Star-Lord reference, I like your plan, except it sucks, so let me do the plan, and that way. So, and then all the standard,
same sort of thing. That was from your
same sort of
last.
thing.
So you're telling me the process doesn't change when you're dealing with a smaller, like a 5,300 versus a 20,000? Or
Yeah, doesn't change. Only this one, it's me with some people that they already know that refer.
Oh, okay, cool.
That referred them to me.
The original company.
We work together. Yeah.
Nice. Your friends are doing it. Why aren't you doing it?
Right. Then the edit, I had to blur out their name.
That's fine.
So it's the same thing. So what I do on these is I'll Photoshop. I have like this timeline as the like backdrop.
Oh, because this is the same videos.
Same timeline.
Template.
I just took a still from them, and it's like, this is what it would look like when we're working on your video.
Yeah, I see what you're doing there. Because I was like, that's the exact same like layers on the other ones, isn't it?
We're future pacing, baby.
I see what's going on here. You sales wizard, you.
Right, same stuff. This one I added a page, the implementation, where we talk about, this is me basically talking about how it's important to make sure that the videos get in front of people, and the implementation strategy for the videos and how important that part of it is.
Yep.
And even provide a link to the how to get results with video book that I give to all my clients. So yeah.
Spoiler alert, from doing work, you learn how to optimize and make things awesome for your clients, and then you can make resources that they love.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't feel like you need all these pieces if you're just getting started. Like, do the work, do good work, show up, and you'll start getting these things. You'll start getting a feeling for what consistent like questions other clients have, and you'll be able to create your own resources. Don't think you need to fake all this shit if you don't have it. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, this is a very different case. Obviously, Derik's a bit further ahead than maybe where you are too, right?
Yeah, and that's not to say that you can't create an amazing proposal and use it effectively with what you already have.
Yep.
It's the first one's going to be the hardest to make because you don't already have all your stuff figured out. But once you make the first one, then it's just about plugging in the right information in the right brain.
Yeah.
So
different case study, but it sort of followed the same structure. Then you got a video on here.
This is a shorter one. This is basically talking about, we worked with a company that was part of the Fortune 100, and we helped them move 21 spots up the list a while back. So we're pretty proud of that. And then back to your investment page, right? So you got the event content packages. So the event packages themselves, part of it I didn't mention on this is in-studio videos that we're also going to be doing where they answer questions related to their expertise. So that's an additional 5,000. So 15,000 for the events that we're basically already paid for.
Yeah.
And
this is just an extra gig on top of something and making
an extra day.
Yep.
That's what it is. One day of shooting and editing.
Not bad to bring in 16, 17 grand.
Yeah. So there you go. And that's a one-off total. Same idea here. Let's get started. Here's your, you got your terms and conditions link here, and they're a law firm.
Was it stressful dealing with a law firm and having your own stuff?
It was. This was my trial by fire on this one, because like my attorney had checked it off, but like these guys are like, they're settling multi-million-dollar cases, man. It's like they read the fine print. So this passed muster with them. So I was pretty happy about that.
Awesome.
And that's that. And they signed it, and I sent the QuickBooks invoice, and I got $10,000 in my account that day. So
that was it right there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's hop out of screen share. Let's wrap this down or wind this down with I guess, do you feel like, I think we've thrown a lot at you. This is a very information heavy. This is a very dense video. You can watch it multiple times. There's going to be some of you who watch and you're like fade after a couple minutes and, don't make any sales ever, but whatever. If you actually have an attention span to follow through with this and you understand the power of using a proposal the right way, Derik, what would you say to somebody who's like, really resonating with this now and maybe even seeing that the old way of doing it, the way you've done it before, the way I've tried doing it before, where you just get crickets, versus the right way. What would you say to someone who's going through this video right now, who's made it to the end?
Yeah, I would say give it a shot with the next client that you feel it would be appropriate with, and try putting something like this together yourself for yourself.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to have their own style. Everybody's going to have their own take on this. You don't have to use, this platform. You don't have to use, any platform specifically. This is the one we use. But the idea is to be able to help your client and make sure that they feel like you're on their side,
Yeah.
and you're giving them a tool that they can use to help convince their boss that they're making a good decision by hiring.
100%. So
That's
to reiterate everything we've covered, it's not just people pick up the phone and call you and ask for a proposal without even having a sales meeting, without them filling in a discovery form, follow the process. But this is how you can use a proposal as like some, I don't know, like fuel for the fire, so to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I would say two major takeaways is one, never, ever, ever hide behind a proposal or allow a customer to push you into sending a proposal in lieu of having a sales conversation. Don't allow that to be the case. This is why it's taken this long for us to have this public conversation about proposals in the group. And I know that's something, Marcus, that you've gone kind of back and forth on. It's like, well, if we do this, we don't want people hiding behind them because it'll keep them from wanting to, going through that sales process.
Yeah, we want you to be empowered to go out and get results and to be able to see success. And I also know like that I'd be totally stupid to say like proposals are bullshit, because there's a time and a place for them. There are people who close deals with them. And that's why I wanted to bring someone who I view as an expert in the video warrior community when it comes to proposals. I have seen what Derik's done with them. We've seen how he's kind of got it in these templates and things like that. And I mean, just seeing how easy it is to integrate with what Better Proposals has in the templates. There'll be a link below again if you're still here and you want to check them out. Adam has been a part of our community for quite some time, the owner and the creator. He's always been super supportive. That's why I like them. I mean, there may be people who are more efficient at things, but I don't know. I stick with who I know, you know what I mean? And they've been awesome with our community, and their proposals look great. Obviously, it's really easy to go, and it can make you look like a genius without having to do all this crazy coding bullshit.
Yeah. I would say if there's one other takeaway, I would say remember not to send the proposal and not have your client either on the phone or a Zoom call with you. Make sure you're walking them through the proposal. Don't send it blind.
So you'll build the proposal. Don't email it till like before the Zoom meeting sort of thing or whatever, or the in-person, or they get it that day or what?
No, this is something where you can send it to them via email while they're on the call with you.
Yeah.
So you get on the Zoom call, take a good 5 minutes, make sure everybody's having a good day. Where we at with everything? Is everybody on the call that needs to be on the call, et cetera? Yeah. Warm everyone up and say, all right, I got this proposal ready. I'm, really, really proud of what we put together here. Excited to be working with you. I'm going to go ahead and send it. And then, let me know when you get it. We'll read through it together. And if you have any questions, here I am.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's really awesome. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, I don't want to get too convoluted with like things to take away. If you're interested in maybe spending a bit more time with Derik and if we do some sort of workshop around proposals to really help you even have some of the template stuff you can use and just understanding more sales psychology, things like that. If that's something that's of interest to you, if you've dug this presentation and hang out with Derik and you get a feel of like this dude knows what he's talking about. And if there's any interest, like we'd love to make a really kick-ass comprehensive resource for people that's super affordable and able to help you just go out and kill it with this stuff. If that's something that you're interested in, please leave a comment and let us know below. We're obviously active in the Facebook group if you're watching there as well.
Cool. I like it, man.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in today, my friends. I know you're going to rewatch this one. There's lots of gold throughout it. Hope you have an awesome day. Derik, thank you for your time, dude.
Thank you, Marcus.
Be great, friend. We'll see you next time.